What up, what up? Hope everyone's doing well. It's so funny. One of the comments is clickbait nonsense. All the title is XRP Back and then a picture of me smiling. This might be one of the least clickbait things I've ever done. Good morning, good morning. Hope everyone's having a good day. I don't know of much interesting going on right now. Got the XRP price chart, obviously, forming a, oh man, didn't mean to do that. Got the XRP price chart forming a potential bottom here, continuing to kind of move upward. Overall, this chart looks pretty solid, but we still need to more definitively break this sort of downtrend. I'm pretty sure we're in a pretty good spot to do that, but that's sort of what I would like to see broken now. If we could break that, things would look pretty good. Crypto Cowboy, good morning. Bob Marsh. Yeah, we got a little bit of a move this morning. Crypto Clay, Halls Balls, good to see you guys. Roger, good to see you. Mary Cox, good morning. Guys, make sure to smash the like button if you're getting here early. Really appreciate everyone doing that. Just need to check over something real quick. Cool. Oh, unemployment numbers? We might still be able to catch that on CNBC if I get over there quickly. Let me see what I can do. See if we can get some talk about that. CNBC Live.
Still beating hard. There's the futures down another 600.
Huh. All right. Looks like they're still at the tail end of that. Let me just handle one other thing here. Okay, cool. We're back. Oh, here we go. We got Rick Santelli. We'll check out this real quick because the dollar is crashing and there might be something interesting to break down here. The computer's just having a hard time right now.
Just a whisker over 1.3 million. That makes it from 1,501,000 last look, what, down about 11%-ish. On the permit side, a little bit better than expected. So what may lie down the road is a bit better than expected, but I do caution, permits are a little hard to qualify and quantify. So these actually now become preliminary March numbers at 1,482,000, and that would be the best level. It would equal these in November of last year. We were a smidge higher. And finally, the last numbers set that we have before the holiday closure tomorrow will be Philly Fed on the business outlook side, which is the service side, maybe the most important, and it comes in at a dismal 26.4 with a minus sign, minus 26.4. We're expecting a subtle but light positive number, a bit above zero. Minus 26 and change would be the weakest number going all the way back to April of 23. But I caution, many of these regional outlooks, of course, are headline prone, just like University of Michigan, many of these squishy sentiment numbers. So it gets hard to get GPS. When I look at what's going on with the Treasury complex, I guess what jumps out at me is yesterday when stocks were moving down, they really did capture the market in a flight to safety for a bit. And it wasn't a 2-year maturity. It was longer maturities, which means investors, their take on what was going on with equities and Jay Powell was more about the weakening economy. Kelly, back to you.
And the 10-year down to 428 on the heels of all of that. Rick, thanks very much, Rick Santelli. Squawk Box will be right back with Loretta.
Yeah, so pretty much a lot of sentiment, jobless numbers, doesn't seem like a whole lot. Now I see their agenda for this morning on CNBC, and I can safely now close CNBC because it doesn't look like they'll be talking about anything interesting today. Silver Days, good to see you. What else is interesting going on here? Trump, okay, so Trump is now calling for Federal Reserve to cut rates. Says termination cannot come fast enough. So there's Trump going at Jerome Powell for not cutting the rates. You know, I do kind of agree. I'm not really a big fan of firing Jerome Powell, because I personally think Jerome Powell has done a very good job. But I do think if Jerome Powell doesn't cut rates at this next meeting, then things are starting to look a little bit sus. The reason why I'm not a fan of firing Jerome Powell is pretty clear, and that's because he had one of the worst inflation spikes of any Federal Reserve chair on his term, and he brought that back down to 2% in relatively short order. So this right here was massive success for Powell, especially while avoiding recession. Now, if he doesn't cut soon, well, inflation's at 2.4%. And then that's where things can get a little tricky, because if he just continues to hurt the economy with inflation dropping off a cliff, that's not going to make any sense. So then I would agree with Trump. If he's just for some reason never going to cut rates, then that's problematic. If we take a look at Truflation, we can see Truflation now has inflation at 1.36%. This is where the government numbers are going to go. I mean, Truflation is just a cheat code. It literally tells you what is coming next. And as we can see, we're following the Truflation numbers. We have been for a long time. It's one of the reasons we've been able to forecast what inflation will be so accurately on this channel. Everyone else all through this time period is calling for the next big spike in inflation. I'm sure you guys have seen it all over the media. We've been pretty firm on that inflation is going to keep falling. And it's just from looking at forward indicators, looking at things that are ahead of the market. Inflation probably continues to move down and meet this 1.3%. But guys, that is far down here. That's all the way down here. So Federal Reserve is going to have to cut rates. We're about to be below their mandate. And while I don't agree with firing Powell per se, I think if he doesn't cut at this next meeting, it's moving to a fireable offense. I don't think it's fair to fire him yet. I think right now he's done a good job, and he's really gotten inflation coming. I mean, gotten inflation down without really breaking anything. But if he continues to push this off and there is no cut in the future, that's where I think things get problematic. So we'll see what Powell does. I think we said the meeting was at some point early May. So we got a bit of time before we see this. And we'll hope there's no emergency beforehand, because typically an emergency wouldn't be a very good sign in this entire thing. Let's see what else we got. Powell was way late in increasing rates and allowed inflation to get high too fast, making these rates stay higher for longer than it should be. Fire him now. Yeah, I mean, he was only like a couple meetings late on raising the rates. I personally, raising rates wouldn't have stopped the initial surge in inflation, because there was a lot of supply chain oriented stuff, and it was going to take a while to slow things down anyway. So I see what you're saying. Yeah, he was a little late in hindsight in raising rates, but I don't know. I don't think it was egregious. And now he has to cut. Maybe I don't think he wants to be late cutting as well. And I personally think he's already in a place where he could be late cutting. So maybe he was late raising and late cutting. I still don't think that's a fireable offense. I mean, these people aren't fortune tellers. For the most part, he's been able to bring down inflation without nuking the economy. So Jerome has a banking background and Trump is just a celebrity. I mean, like, I think Trump's smart and I think Trump has a good pulse on the economy. But I also think Trump wants rates down because he wants the markets to boom, which I don't blame him. And here's the thing, like, we have to get lower rates. Like, inflation is sitting right above 2% and it's about to spike below 2%. I mean, the Federal Reserve is going to have no choice. They're going to have to cut rates. So if Jerome Powell doesn't cut rates when he has to, that's a huge problem. But in my eyes, he still has time to be able to get that done before I would consider it a fireable offense. I know some people think differently here. Some people think Jerome Powell should have already been fired. I don't really agree. I think Jerome Powell, if he doesn't cut rates very soon, then that's problematic. But right now, I think I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt. You're too nice. Well, like, I mean, there's a lot of people who would argue that Jerome Powell has been one of the best Fed presidents in a long time. I would consider getting on that argument. Now, it's not picking from a very good list of people. It's been picking from a list of people who all had their own problems, but you know, I think he's been one of the better Fed chairs in a long time. What he did was pretty impressive, despite the fact that he obviously made mistakes along the way. So Bob Marr says it's a fact he's not allowed to fire him. I don't know if anyone knows what the fact is there. I've heard constitutional lawyers say he can't do it. I've heard constitutional lawyers say he can do it. So whether Trump can even fire Jerome Powell is up for grabs. I think what will likely happen, just so your guys are aware, is I think he will fire Jerome Powell, and then we'll find out if he was allowed to fire Jerome Powell. So normally Trump will just go do something, and then we'll figure out if he was allowed to do it after. So I think he'll probably fire Jerome Powell regardless, and then it'll probably go to the Supreme Court. And then from there, who knows if Jerome Powell's even going to want to be there anymore. It's the government. There are no facts. Exactly, Roger. It's going to come down to the Supreme Court making a decision. I have no idea if he can fire Powell or not. To me, I've heard constitutional lawyers say it's absolutely possible. So I think it comes down to your perspective. See what Grok says. Yeah, so I mean, Grok says what everyone else says. Yes, he could try to fire Jerome Powell. There would be significant legal pushback. So it would all just come down to how a court rules on it. And that's the thing about all of this. It's like people act like certain things are set in stone, but it really just goes to the court, and then the court will hash things out. So typically by the rule set at play, I would think, yeah, no, you can't fire him. But you know, the court will rule however the court's going to rule. I nominate Mickle as new Fed chair. That's one of the jobs where I think I would have absolutely zero interest. I do not think I would really be I don't think I would enjoy sitting at the Federal Reserve unless I was working on their faster payments initiative. If I got to work on faster payments and work with the cryptocurrency sector, you'd have the whole United States running on XRP pretty quickly. But yeah, no, not definitely not something I've ever been interested in. Go back to the XRP price chart. We've taken a long look at inflation, and XRP still's got to do its thing. Still got to do its thing. Still got to break out of this descending resistance. I think it'll do it, but that's the line right there. Gotta break that. We've been getting hammered down by that thing for a while now, and we've really just got to flip it. Because we essentially have two choices. We either flip this line and move upward, or we get another big push down because we can't break it. I would much rather have this be this and have that breakout, but we've got to break this level right there. It isn't our goal to make money. I can get a better profit with XRP than Bitcoin right now. Well, I mean, I generally agree with you. I think there's more profit in XRP than Bitcoin, but no one knows that, right? You never know what's going to give you the better profit. It also depends on sort of how you look at things. If this is more of a trading situation, you're like, all right, I'm going to get in at XRP at this price, get out at this price, right? That's a lot different than holding for the long run, and just really holding through a lot of noise throughout the years. So, you know, it all depends what your plan is. I would say Bitcoin is a leader when it comes down to adoption, mainstream media, mainstream mindshare, and I think XRP's got a lot more potential upon getting that mass adoption on a more utility scale. But how that translates to price, it's anyone's guess. I tend to think it would be very good for XRP, but the market can be surprising. So nothing's ever certain. I know you probably know that, but it's important for everyone else to hear. A lot of people look at XRP and they're like, oh, it's smaller, therefore it will go up more than Bitcoin. It's certainly possible. I think it probably will, but nothing's a guarantee. Stacking HBAR. Yeah, HBAR is a good project. HBAR is one of the ones I'm a bigger fan of. I like the Flare network a lot. Haven't talked about them in a bit. Problem with the Flare network I'm finding is just that it takes so long to get things shipped. Like, it takes a long time to actually see a lot of the work they've been working on. So I do hope they get a little bit more. They get a little better at actually shipping the things they're producing, because it just seems like, to me, it's like a long gap. Tracy, good to see you. Well, Tracy, it's a lot better than when we were at 30 cents. Now we're at $2.21. So we gotta be a little more patient up at $2. Flare is disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I'm personally not really disappointed by Flare, I would say. I just think they need to move a little quicker on putting things into production. I think they'll get there though. Look, Flare is taking a very different view of the market than most people. Flare is really playing the long game here. They say, hey, you know what? Let's build really good stuff, so over the long run, everything's the way it needs to be. A lot of people just ship something as soon as it's almost ready, and they say, okay, well, it's pretty much there right now. Let's ship it, and let's go fix it later. I like Flare's strategy more, but I do think they need to start getting some of those products shipped a little quicker so that we can really see what they've gotten going on. And I'm very bullish on Flare. My one pushback is that things take a long time to ship, but it's complicated code, right? So oh, that's awesome, Crypto Clay. Yeah, and it's not even that things take a long time to ship. I think the messaging has just been not great. Like, obviously, I understand this. They get really excited to release something. They want everyone to be able to do it. And then they realize that, hey, well, maybe we should test this out. And then the timeline gets pushed. And I don't know. I think Hugo's just got to be a little more date conscientious, right? Just don't give dates. Just say, you know what? We're pretty close to this, and we'll let you guys know when we think we'll be ready. I think that's been one of the bigger things from the Flares, just the communication side on some of that. And I think if they could kind of get that fixed up a little bit, I think things would be in a much better place. Jake said last night we are waiting for Flare because Ripple got major slowdown. That's so funny. I see two tweets in a row. Frankie says Hugo is annoying. Crypto Clay says Hugo is a genius. I like Hugo a lot. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's very, very intelligent. So everyone reads people a different way. I've always been a fan of Hugo, honestly. I always thought he's a great guy. I always thought he was really smart, but you know, if you don't like the guy, I'm not going to convince you. Oh, you have to go like this. You have to like this guy. People read people differently. It's fascinating. Some people like some people, other people don't. One of the funny thing about humans in general. Taking a look at XRP right now and sort of this channel we've been trading in against Bitcoin. It looks like relatively this is still holding up all right. We are pushing on the bottom of this thing. This is XRP against Bitcoin. And I would love to see XRP move back towards the middle of this thing, because we are really pressing on this lower bound here. So we'll see if we can hold this, but just putting some downward pressure on it. Tracy says only 104 likes. Make sure to like the stream. Thank you so much, Tracy. Appreciate that. Whenever the market's kind of getting boring, what you see is you see a lot of people kind of fading off of the live streams. You see a lot of people fading off the videos, and as soon as things get exciting again, everyone comes rushing in. So totally understand that's just human psychology, and you kind of got to get through these lulls, because what's on the other side of the lull is always extremely exciting. So oh, Frankie, I could see that. Yeah, sometimes I think he makes bad comments about other projects. I agree with that. Absolutely. That's a good comment by you. I do agree sometimes Hugo says stuff about other projects that probably doesn't need to be said, or that maybe he shouldn't be saying. Checking out the news real quick, making sure there's nothing I'm missing. Wow, it is a dry news day. Oh, there is nothing. Nothing. Tracy, if you need to, that's a good thing to do. Sometimes it's best just to step away for a little bit, relax, not think about things, and come back kind of with reset and re-energized. That's not a bad thing to do, Tracy. Me personally, I spend every single day in crypto, but that's the life I signed up for. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty immune to it. I'm pretty immune to all of the cycles and emotions involved, but sometimes the best thing to do is just step away. The market will take care of itself. It is, though. It is interesting. Whenever you start to feel like kind of the market it is right now, where things are super boring, people are getting upset with things, this is typically where the market makes a move that no one's expecting. Yep. Usually means we're about to get slammed with news. Absolutely, Taylor. We're in like that deep lull. Like we go into this lull of nothing happening and we shoot right out with like all this crazy stuff happening. Well, we obviously have the actual decision to vote on the case ending probably coming in the next couple weeks. I made a video last night about that. A lot of people were freaking out because they saw the delay in the case. I guess we can bring this up real quick. Yeah, so a lot of people saw this delay and they were worried about kind of what was going on. And essentially, we had a delay in the appeal 60 days, specifically because Ripple and the SEC are settling anyway. So Ripple and the SEC got together. They said, hey, what's the point of filing this if we're going to be dismissing this case anyway or settling the case anyway? And then they got together and they said, all right, we'll just go push off this filing because we're about to settle the case. So it doesn't mean... I don't think people understand. This doesn't mean that they have to wait 60 days to settle the case. It's just a random delay. Like, this is the thing that I think is kind of funny. Like, everyone keeps commenting on the 60 days. But 60 days has nothing to do with anything. That just means that that's the random arbitrary amount of time they wanted to push off the next filing. And it means they're going to settle pretty soon. They're not going to wait 60 days to settle. For me, the 60 days almost means nothing. I mean, they've already settled. They just need a vote on things, and then it will be said and done. Like, we just have to wait for that vote to happen, then it'll be over. I mean, to me, it's almost like a big non-factor. It's going to happen regardless. Whether it happens today, tomorrow, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it makes no difference. This settlement is in. And then I don't think there will be much of a market reaction to that settlement being in, to be honest with you. I think the market is already pricing in the settlement. Maybe it will be a small little jump up, but I think the market has already kind of assumed this case is dead and gone. Let's see what else we got in the news. Man, oh man. There's nothing else for Judge Torres to do. Ripple and the SEC are settling. No, Judge Torres can't do anything. They're just settling. When can we expect ETFs? So the last time I checked, the latest the XRP ETFs would be approved would be September. So that means at some point this winter, I mean, at some point this summer, we would expect those ETFs to start rolling in. I haven't heard, the last time I heard an actual attorney talk about this, it was sometime in September. So I'm kind of sticking to that. I have heard other reports of things happening sooner, but they're not by attorneys, and I don't know if I trust them. So I thought that it was September. So May 22nd ETF deadline is a deadline. But what the SEC has been doing is they've been just pushing off the decision. So they've just been extending the decision. So I think they'll probably continue to extend that decision and keep pushing it off. And then the last date they can make a call would be sometime in September, October. Thoughts on the Cardano midnight airdrop? I don't know a lot about it. It seems semi-interesting. I'm not going to lie. I don't pay so much attention to the Cardano ecosystem. It's not super interesting to me, but I would love to be wrong and that to be a very valuable ecosystem. I'm just yet to see a whole lot there. Mickle, didn't you say you knew some people talking about the value of XRP? You couldn't speak on it though. Give us a hint. I'm not really entirely sure what you're pointing at there, Montana. You'd have to give me some more information there. Do you think there are numerous countries coming to the table for a new deal? A new trade deal? Yeah, I do think that's probably happening. If we do get a new trade deal, it's going to be massively bullish for the entire market. I don't think most of the market really believes Trump that he's going to get these trade deals in. So if we do, I think the market's going to think it's tremendously bullish. I do think there are countries coming to the table. So I think that's ultimately a really good thing. So why the media announcement choice to specifically include XRP community? I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about there. Don't forget RLEUR will be out soon. Yes, I am excited about that. That's very exciting to see. Rondell, I totally agree. Totally agree. Linda, in terms of XRP taking off, I kind of covered this in a video last night, so I highly suggest you watch the end of the video from last night. Maybe in the last 5 minutes of the video, I really jump into this. But I talk a lot about when you're going to see XRP appreciation happen. And I'll recap it real quick. You know, I think what a lot of people miss is that it's not going to be upon rules and regulations. It's going to be upon people realizing that we have been right in terms of XRP's utility and the wide scale adoption. The second the general market consensus realizes that we were right in terms of mass adoption and the utility behind XRP and the need to hold some, then that's when the price will start going up. After that, you'll have the actual adoption, the actual utility, the actual volumes. That will probably be another tier. And then you kind of have the passive investors as people start getting in just to hold an allocation. And there's a constant DCA from the big retirement funds and the big other people as they just slowly bring in extremely large amounts of capital over more sustainable periods of time. So I think the first thing is you need the speculation. You need people to start realizing we've been right this entire time. That forces everyone to start piling in and start saying, all right, well, I hope I don't miss this. The next thing you need is the actual utility, the actual thing that's going to drive the underlying volumes. And then the last thing you need after that is kind of that long-term sustainable cash flow coming in. Oh, yeah. Are they asking Judge Torres to remove the injunction? I think they are. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Thank you for that. Yeah, they are asking Judge Torres to remove that injunction. That's interesting. I forgot about that little tidbit. I wonder if they can settle before the injunction's removed or they need Judge Torres to remove the injunction. I used to pay, I mean, as you guys all know, I used to be all over the Ripple SEC case. I used to know every move. It's just not that, like, it's so over. It's so over. It's like watching a football game and it's 100-3. And then you're watching the last couple 5 minutes and they keep doing timeouts and they keep going to the 2-minute warning. But like for me, like I've already stopped watching, you know, for me, the game's over. So that's sort of where I sit on the entire thing. I'm just like, yes, there might be an interesting play in the last couple minutes of the game. Maybe the other team, or maybe there's just another score in general. But for the vast majority of it, I mean, like the game's over. Ripple won. XRP is not a security, and now they're just wrapping it up in the legal processes. So there's just not much for me to pay attention to there. If anything happens out of the ordinary, maybe I'll tune back in, but right now it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate all the hard work you do to get more people like this stream. When am I going back on GMC again? They have my calendar. I'm just waiting for them to book me onto the show. Maybe I gotta hit up Abs and see if everything worked all right. But I thought he was just gonna book me onto the show and I was gonna be good. Maybe I was like pretty busy for a while and he had to book a bit out, but I thought I would have already been on the show. I just need to hit up Abs. I've been so busy. To be completely honest with you, it just hasn't been a priority recently. But would love to go back on. I always have a blast when I'm on there. All right, guys. With that said, there's not much going on here. Market's flat. Not that much news. So we're gonna call it here, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Want to leave everyone with the message that someone said earlier. I think it was Taylor. This is the time where obviously things get boring. People get upset. They're like, why won't things happen? It's typically a great indicator that something very big is about to happen. Typically when we go through these lulls, suddenly it's like news event, this. So seems like we're kind of dragging through this lull right now. I know it's not fun. I know it can get very tiring, but this is one of those things where we just got to push through it. We're going to make it to the other side and everything's going to look great. Guys, thank you so much for coming.